you'll do an edit, which seems to be an edit where you look through almost divine eyes, where you're really looking into the work and seeing, is that really the best that it can be? Is it meeting its highest intention?
I'm always pointing people in the direction of who they really are, the source of their wisdom. That's the source of everything. And as part of that, it's also their voice.
Welcome, everybody, to the Only One show. And this evening, our guest speaker is Maria Iliffe Wood. And I'm really excited, as you can tell. Maria and I go back a long way. And I mean, a really long way.
It is now, isn't it?
When you were doing the Leicester 3P thing, you invited me as a speaker, and then COVID happened. But even before that, yeah.
And even though we only live an hour away, we met. The first time we met was on Salt Spring Island.
I know. So we go back a long way, and we've become friends over time and shared dinners and things and lunches. My favorite times are going for lunch with Bria. Partly because she never frowns when you have a cake. We were in writing class together, and we had a relationship, and then I said something that sparked an idea for you, and you set up your publishing press, and we published a book together, and then we've just got lots and lots of history. So I'll let you introduce yourself in a minute, and I just wanted to say how I experience you. So one of the things we do is we run a writing retreat together once a year, which started as should we just try this out? In fact, it started as somebody else's writing retreat. I was invited, and then it ended up being me and you. And we just did it as it'll be fun to be together anyway. And now it's a thing. We've done it for 3 years. We've got another one coming up in July, which is incredible when you think about it. And we absolutely love doing it.
Yeah. And so many of the same people keep coming back.
Yeah.
That's what's so lovely as well.
Yeah.
They come back because they have such a lovely time. In fact, one of them, I had an email, I don't think I told you this. She said that she's having problems this year because the timing of it is July this year rather than September, isn't it? And she's in a place where school holidays is a lot for a lot of people, and she's not got kids. So she's had a little bit of fight for the time off this year. And she said it's made her realise how sacrosanct this is in her calendar.
Oh, that's lovely.
Nice, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah. How much more it is than a writing retreat. And that's one of the reasons why I called this Writing from the Soul, because that's what you do. You help people connect to themselves and to life through writing. And you have this really beautiful, grounded, quiet presence where you can really find yourself. You can really find yourself without the nerves and so on. I was talking to Anastasia earlier, actually, and I was saying how when I first did writing group, I thought, oh, why do they hate me? Because they never gave me feedback. Jules never gave me feedback. And I thought it was because my writing was so bad. And you enable people to recognize who they really are through the craft of writing. And you always make it look so effortless. But I know that you work hard at your craft, and you somehow manage the balance between putting a shift in, like getting the work done, doing the grind, and the keeping it connected to source or to the essence of who you are. and you'll do an edit which isn't just about editing words out or checking something. You'll do an edit which seems to be an edit where you look through almost divine eyes, where you're really looking into the work and seeing, is that really the best that it can be? Is it meeting its highest intention? I didn't know I was going to say all that.
You're going to say all that.
But that's how I experience it.
I'm just about to look behind to see if there's somebody behind me you're talking about.
You nincompoop. It's you. And we always have fun. And you said it at the last retreat, it's easy. It's easy because you can work with different people. We're different. We would be different elements. Earlier, I thought fire and ice. I think that might be the hair thing. But we're different elements, but the combination works well.
Combination works really well. And not just at the writing retreat. We've worked with leaders together.
That's true.
That was so easy. You talk about me being easy, but I don't know what it is that the two of us, the chemical, the alchemy of the two of us, I think is just really easy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I invited you because there's a lot of writers in our community, and obviously there's a lot of writers in your community. And I thought it would be just interesting to have a writerly discussion for whatever's coming up for you right now. What if there's anything you're seeing new about writing, or if there's anything you feel you want to share that the world needs to know, because I'd like more people to find their voice. And in my world, of course, I'm working with solopreneurs and changemakers, and my passion is helping them have more impact and get more income. And having a book is one way to do that. And we've certainly seen that with some of the community members, that authority that having a book gives you. So that's my interest, or one of my interests. And so, yeah, I thought we'll see where the conversation goes and whatever comes to mind for you. So did you want to add to your introduction?
I don't know what I could possibly add. It was really nice. Thank you. Thank you so much for a really lovely introduction. I don't know if people know that how IW Press came about. You alluded to it a little bit. When I look back, I can see the breadcrumbs that go back, way back, right to childhood, that brought me to where I am now in terms of writing and publishing. But I never knew that I was going to be involved in writing and publishing. That was a complete surprise to start the writing and publishing company. And what happened, so I run a leadership development business with my husband, Ash, and the work dropped off a cliff at the time of the pandemic. I'd already had people asking me for help with editing their writing, which had come as a complete surprise to me at the time. I was like, why are you asking me? Because I don't know much. Like, I was in writing classes. I'd published a book. Yes, I'd published a book, but people were saying to me, no, we really value your opinion and we want to pay you for it. And I found that I had some kind of acumen for it that kind of surprised me. And when I look back over the years, what you said about my thing has always been, as a coach and as a leadership coach, as a coach supervisor, I'm always pointing people in the direction of who they really are, the source of their wisdom, that's the source of everything. And as part of that, it's also their voice, which up until a few years ago, I wouldn't have realized that was it as well, but it's definitely all part of it. So even though I'm working with writers now, more so than leaders and more so than with coaches, the thing is still the same, is helping people to really see and know this part of themselves, or this that lives through us. And that breadcrumb goes right back to when I was a leader, helping my teams learn how to answer complaint letters. And I had a realization, this very clear realization that, I don't need to help them to write the letter how I would write it. I need to help them to write it in their voice, but making sure that they've got all the right components. And it was only recently I realized that writing complaint letters or responding to complaint letters is a bit like writing a story. So you can see how it all came about. So when the pandemic hit, you said, we were in a writing class together, short masterclass, weren't you? And you said, why don't we make a book? All of these brilliant writers in here, why don't we make a book? And Maria, you're looking like you're going to start press any minute now, because it wasn't 100% formed. Why don't you make this your first book? And that, as they say, is history. So now I think it's 15 books later. I know, 15 books later. Not 15 books that I've written. I think 3 of those are mine. 15 books published. As a result of it, you said something about the confidence that a book gives you and the authority that a book gives you. And that's one of my favorite things about helping people to get published, especially first-time published. So when we look at all of those first-time published authors that are in the 3 books, the 3 anthology books that we did together, Stories from the Muses, A Different Story, and Lies, Lies, and More Lies. So there's, I think, 14, 23, nearly 30 first-time, almost, maybe not quite all of them were first-time published, but 30 first-time published authors in that lot. The difference in the people is astounding. There is something about when you publish a book and you hold that book in your hand, and I think you've got people in this group who have already done that, haven't you? It changes a person. And it's very subtle, and it's not the reason why people do it. But when the book is out in the world, you see the difference in their composure, in the way that they talk, in their confidence, in their authority on the subject. There's an entire shift that happens that's a very gradual, so they probably don't notice it themselves, but I can definitely see it when the book gets out in the world. And Liz, bless her, I think she's part of your community, isn't she? She said that publishing her book gave her wings and able to find her wings, which I thought was just a gorgeous description of it. Yeah, so as you can tell, I passionately love doing this.
I love it. I love it. What I saw was that you really sunk your teeth into it.
Yeah.
So when you took it on, it was a lot of learning, and it was a lot of learning in a sort of like third career in your life or something. You know, in your wisdom years, as I've started calling them, you suddenly decide to start a new business, publishing people's books, and particularly spiritual memoirs you were doing, and these anthologies. And I noticed how you had to learn a lot and find your way around. But I also noticed at the time the industry was very snooty about hybrid publishing and
and hybrid, yes, definitely. I think it's getting a little bit less, but it still can be. I've seen posts on social media, and somebody will put a post on social media saying, I've got a quote from this hybrid publisher, and 1 million people will jump on it. Oh, they're all charlatans. You shouldn't be paying to have your book published. You can do it all yourself. And none of those people seem to realize that, yeah, you can do it all yourself. But it's bloody hard work.
Yeah.
To do it all yourself. Do that. It's really hard work to do it. And to get a book published that looks as good as and as professional as a traditionally published book, because a lot of self-published books, you can see them a mile off, and people People can really tell the difference. It takes a lot. Like you said, I immersed myself. Like I was doing so many webinars, so much research, so much reading, so many courses I attended. I really did. Once I decided this is what I was going to do, I thought I can't just do it on the back of the little bit of awareness that I've had just by having a book published in the past with a traditional publishing house. I had to really immerse myself in it. So all of my efforts went into really helping me to understand the craft. I'm still, even though I teach writing, I'm still a student. I still attend classes because I really want to be still evolving as a writer. But I'm still doing, I've got 3 webinars that I've paid for and had to have the recording because I couldn't attend live that I need to go back to and listen to. So even now I'm still doing, not as much as I was doing in the first year. And in that first year, I'm very much a trial and error person as well. And I made a lot of mistakes in that first trial and error. So I would give something a go and then I'd go and work out how I should have done it rather than the other way round. That's just my learning style.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, immerse completely. So let's again.
I said, I remember. I think I was one of your first. And our anthologies, they were definitely a steep learning curve. We could talk about publishing all night. It's a huge subject. And one of the things I will do actually is link the webinar that you did on publishing maybe last year.
Yeah.
And one of the things is, like you just mentioned to Louise earlier about, oh, are you a member of this place because libraries will pay you something towards your books when they buy? Well, I don't know that. And then there's the other thing about putting it in the British Library. You've got to put a physical copy in the British Library legally, the legal deposit thing. There's so many things that we don't know when you self-publish, you have no awareness of. So
and it's things like, do you use a free ISBN or do you buy an ISBN?
Yeah.
And there's implications for both. Do you publish only on Amazon or do you find other ways to publish as well?
Yeah. There's a
there's a whole thing there.
Having said that, I also feel that there is a place for getting your own first book written and done, like a mini book, get written and done and published. And having something. Having said, I spoke to somebody recently and he was like embarrassed about a book that he'd published 10 years ago, and he was saying, oh, don't look at it, don't look it up. And I was saying, are you crazy? Like something like 1% of the population of people who say they want to write a book actually go and do it. And just because your first book maybe isn't your best ever and there's mistakes and so on, actually it gives you something to start with. And then you might want to then go and do hybrid publishing or whatever. But I'm a proponent of giving it a go.
That first book, the thing that you might be thinking about that first book is, oh, I've moved on since then.
Yeah.
I've got a different understanding of that. So like my first book, Coaching Presence, was written before I came across a spiritual understanding. Having said that, the book, you wouldn't know that. People have said to me, have asked me did I write it before or did I write it after? Because even though I didn't have the same words for it, it was there and it's in that book. So if I was to write that book again now, it'd be an entirely different book.
Yes.
But there are thousands and millions of people who are at the level of understanding that I was at that time, who that book is still perfect for. And the same with any other author. Like just because your understanding has moved on, there's plenty of people for whom that book is still relevant and is going to move them along in a way. And I look at that and I would probably write it in a different way. And I'd definitely get it proofread better because it's got a core spelling mistake in it. But which I literally only noticed 2 years ago.
Wow.
And the book was published 12 years ago.
12 years. Wow.
Yeah.
So, Maria, tell us a little bit about that story, because you were a bit lucky and you had no clue how hard it was to get traditionally published. But
Yeah.
you got a deal.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I mean, talk about we're guided. We're definitely guided. And even then, without knowing about a spiritual understanding, I was very trusting of the guidance that I would get. I wouldn't have seen it that way, but I really did have an intuition about how to go about finding a publisher in the first place. So I spent a lot of time in bookstores and in university libraries, because it was a business book, and a lot of the kind of books that I was thinking about were in university libraries. And I'd be looking at all the publisher names, and I narrowed it right down. I actually only narrowed it down to one, because all of the best coaching books were published by Kogan Page. And so the first thing that I did is those days they did author talks, and I'd signed up for their newsletter. I was getting all of the newsletters, and then I heard about this author talk that was going on. I think half a dozen authors were all giving a talk. And so I persuaded Ash to, I think it was his birthday. Because I remember, I think for 3 years on the trot, I took him to a conference on his birthday. And so I persuaded him to come down. So we went down to this author talk, and a woman stood up at the beginning of the talk and said, I can't think of her name now, but I'm the commissioning editor for Kogan Page. I said to Ash, I'm going to talk to her in the break. And he's going, no, she'll have loads of people who want to talk to her. I said, no, I'm going to talk to her in the break. So I went and talked to her, and she said, there's a proposal on the website. Go onto the website, fill in the proposal and send it through. Now, I worked really hard on that proposal. It was 9 A4 pages long. There's a lot of detail in it. I did a lot of research. I crafted it. And so by the time it was submitted, and then I had to give an outline of my book as well and some sample writing. And I really worked hard on making that as good as I possibly could. You know what we were saying earlier, I never asked anybody for any help on it. I just worked out how to do it myself and submitted it. And a week later, I got a call to say that I'd been accepted for a deal. Now, I didn't know it. I didn't know at that point that deals were like hen's teeth. So even then, and I think it's even harder now. I think even then but I did the work before I got there. I knew that I'd got a subject that fitted with their genre, but was also different to anything that they'd got.
Yeah.
I knew that the books that it fitted in with who they did, and I put together all this, including an outline of how I would be prepared to market the book. And I put quite a lot of work into that. I'd got really clear. I was going to do talks. I was a member of the chamber. I was going to do talks at the chamber events. I'd got social media. I'd written articles. All sorts of things I put in that. So yeah, it was, I think, that an element of luck, but also I worked really hard.
Yeah. You did your research. You knew exactly what you were pitching, and what you did is actually can be cut and paste to, if you want to get on a podcast, or if you want local press, or you want it. That's the thing, is it isn't just pop in an email to the, it is work out why they should have you.
Yes.
And tell them how you're going to make them look better.
That's it. Yeah.
And to do that, you have to know. For instance, if you want to be on somebody's podcast, you should be listening to their podcast, so that you know what they do, and the sort of guests that they have, and how you can differentiate yourself.
Yeah.
And the same with press and the same with anything.
Yeah.
I think that's a lesson that you can take across the board.
Yeah, definitely. And the same if you want to get a literary agent, because if you're writing fiction, and I know probably your people aren't writing fiction, but there are big presses that publish non-fiction as well. A lot of the big ones want you to go through a literary agent, but finding a literary agent is you have to put the same amount of work in to find a literary agent as you do to find a publisher. And the very first time I wrote to 5 literary agents, and bless them, one of them actually replied, which I actually find surprising, because one of the things that I learned, all I did is I sent off an email, a very quick email saying, I've got a book, do you fancy reading it to represent me? Maybe a couple more sentences than that, but that was the gist of it. And bless her, one of them actually replied to me and said, look, you really need to look at what the literary agent is asking for and supply what they're asking for before you approach anybody. And then when I looked into it, and the literary agents have got exactly the same requirements as they have as that proposal that I put together.
And they get hundreds of proposals.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when we went to Jericho Writers Conference.
Yeah.
They were saying they literally get people not even writing the right name on the proposal, and they
making just basic fundamental mistakes.
Yeah.
I went to a Hay House conference, and the chief exec said there they get an average of 250 submissions a week, and they publish, I think he said 60 to 80 books a year.
Wow.
And it's the same with literary agents, it's the same with publishers, and it's the same with writing competitions. They get so many submissions. So what you have to remember is that all of those people doing all of that reading, they have to find a way of getting rid of the vast majority of the submissions that come in. And so if you haven't done what they said, you're out. You're just out. And a lot of them won't even reply to you. If you've not heard from us in 6 months, it's a no.
Yeah.
Because they haven't got time.
It's like CVs. If you send your CV into somewhere, I know when I've been in charge of recruitment, literally getting rid of as many CVs as I could that hadn't got the right criteria or written their name right or written my name right, and or written in bad handwriting or something, just so that I could try and whittle it down to the few that might get through. You touched on something there about competitions. So tell us your thoughts on competitions, and should people go for competitions?
The competitions that I've gone in for, I've done more from 2 points of view. One is a fun angle, because they're fun to do. The ones that I've entered have been the NYC, the New York competition, New York midnight competition, something like that. You've done them as well. They're really fun to do, aren't they? You have to have time to do it, but they're really fun to do. And you get really good feedback from them. So from the feedback point of view alone, I think is a good reason to do it. Other competitions, there's lots, there's so many, there's competitions all the time. Some of them will result in you getting your work published if you get through. And some of the competitions, again, the awards that I've gone for, that I've submitted my books for, what I didn't realise is that you sometimes you don't always, but you sometimes get feedback as well as a result of what they've found. And even if you've not been shortlisted, like I wasn't, and Liz got some really nice feedback for her, but we got really good feedback.
Yeah.
So for this one, Life, the feedback that I got, the reason why it didn't go to the next stage, it was too short.
Right.
That's the only thing that they could say about it that didn't take it forward to the next. But yeah, I think, and if you're a poet, that seems to be, a lot of people seem to go to submissions route and competitions route when it comes to poetry. There's definitely a snobbery around self-published poetry. So I tried to contact I looked into submitting this one life, because I think it's a fabulous poetry book, to the Poetry Book Society. And their rules dictate that you cannot submit if you're self-published or if you paid somebody to publish your book. So there's still an element of snobbery, but there's also an element of snobbery with poetry, because I don't know if you know a poet called Donna Ashworth.
Mm-hmm.
She's sold millions of copies. She really hit a sweet spot in terms of her poetry really touching the masses. And there's such a snobbishness about that her poetry is too populist, that poetry bookstores will not stock her book.
Wow.
And even though if they stocked it, they would sell a lot of copies.
Wow.
So there is still aspects of snobbery around in the publishing
world. I could ask you so many questions, like all sorts of things have come up, but I think we should spend the last sort of 20 minutes or so on writing as a craft, as a way of connecting, and just get your thoughts on that, really. And yeah, what comes up for you when I say that?
That's the whole point of writing, if you're going to publish it, is that you want people to connect with you, connect with your story, connect with your writing, connect with your message. That's the whole point of putting it out into the world. For me, it's not necessarily the whole point of writing. I think that if people are going to write, there's something in them that makes them write, as opposed to thinking that they should write. I hear so many people say, "Oh, I've been told I should write a book," and if they're not writing, and it's not their thing, they're never gonna write. It doesn't matter how good a story they've got, because it doesn't matter how good a story you've got. It's in the telling. It's not in the story. That is the thing that makes the difference. But one of the things that we really learn in the method writing that you and I both studied is that you write in such a way that really enables a reader to resonate with your writing. You're writing from that deep voice inside of you. And when you're writing from the deep voice inside of you, you get as much out of it as anybody who reads your writing does, because you see so much. Like, I've had so many insights that have come through my writing that have made such a huge difference to me in my life. And who knows whether I would have got those insights anywhere else, but they came through the writing. And things come on the page. I wrote years ago, before I knew anything about method writing, I wrote about something that happened as a very small child, witnessing my mum and do something with my brother. And I wrote it from my mum's perspective, and that changed my relationship with my mum. All of a sudden, I had so much compassion for my mum, because I suddenly had an understanding and appreciation about her situation, rather than thinking about it from my point of view or thinking about it from my brother's point of view in that particular incident. And so many other, not just insights about that, but insights about how life works, and insights about my conditioning, all the stories that we tell ourselves, and that so much of that comes to fruition. And when I wrote Coaching Presence, I wasn't writing a book about coaching presence. I did a deep reflection into my coaching practice, really looking at what was I doing in my coaching practice, reflecting on every single session. What did I do? What did I say? What happened? What was the feeling? And so this model came up to do with how visible and invisible I am as a coach, and what that means for the client. And, that we've all got this source of wisdom inside us. That's what I'm pointing to. And I learned so much about my coaching and my coaching practice through writing that. And then when the book was done, and the book was always called The Invisible Coach, that was the working title of it. And it wasn't until it went to the commissioning editor, and she read it, and she came back and said, this title is too simple for the book that you've written. Your book is about presence. It's about coaching presence, and that's what we think we should call it. And I was like, I don't know how I've written a book about presence, because I wouldn't have told you. I wouldn't have said that I knew anything about it. And so I learned so much. And what's been really funny, ironic, is that I'm the go-to person in the coaching world if anybody's thinking about presence, because hardly anybody's written about it. And that's part of the reason why it wasn't, they didn't know that I was writing about coaching presence. They knew about this invisible coach thing. And even that in itself was something that nobody had written about in the coaching world. I learned so much through writing that book. It wouldn't have mattered in a way if nobody had ever read the book once it was published. But 12 years down the line and people are still reading it. So
beautiful, beautiful. And pointing to what I experienced recently, which is, and I know through writing classes and all the work that we've done together, that what's coming through you isn't going to be what you think you're going to write about. And giving yourself the space, do that, and the permission to let that come and not try to corral it into something. My example is that I'd written a book. It was based on a masterclass that I'd done, or a short program that I've got. Actually, it was based on a short program, so I voiced it and wrote it, and it was okay. It was good enough, but I kept putting off publishing it. There was some reason why I kept putting off publishing it. I didn't know why, and I went away deliberately on a writing retreat to finish it, and I kept thinking, I want it to be bolder. You said about presence being, you're the only one who's written about it. It was like that. It was like, I don't want to be another person who writes about this. I want it to be bolder. I want to stand out, not because I want to stand out, but because I want people to see that there's something more here. And it's not just read the words and get on with it, but there's something more here. There's something deeper that I'm pointing to. But I didn't know what that was. I couldn't articulate what that was or how to write about it. And the space and the permission to let what Jules would call creative genius come through me gave I had a download. It gave me this, and as soon as it was out, I knew this is it. This is what I want to talk about. But until that moment, I couldn't have thought my way to that.
No.
That came from somewhere else. That came from that connection with source or self or creative genius or whatever it is. It came from somewhere else. And that fascinates me, because I use writing as a very functional, day-to-day. I don't always write from that space. I do use AI to help me structure things. I don't, every newsletter I put out isn't crafted beautifully from the space of God. But when I do go there and I feel that presence and that flow, it's a whole different story. And I could see it. I could see it in the writing. I could feel it in what the book's trying to do. And it's almost like the book has its own thought, its own purpose. It's telling me, no, I'm about this.
That's it. Terry Pratchett, who's a fiction author, he always says the first draft is the book making itself known to you. And I think that applies to fiction, to non-fiction as well as fiction.
And
you actually don't know what the book is about until it's written.
I
think that's been true of all of the books. And there's so many things in what you said as well. The permission thing is so interesting. And I think so many people do not give themselves permission to write. It's writing, when all of us growing up in school were handed down the conditioning that the arts are not worth anything. There's no value. There's no value to painting, there's no value to writing, there's no to dancing. And even those industries are not, not well paid. There's lots of starving authors, there's lots of starving actors, because nobody's paying them the value and the worth. And so we've got this message that writing in particular, this is what we're talking about, is writing, doesn't have the worth. So it's always seen as a bit of a, I'm not quite sure what the word is, but it's always at the bottom of the priority pile. And when we have busy lives, writing is the thing that doesn't happen, even if we have a feeling that we really want to write. And we have a, even though there's something compelling us to write and we want to write, and there's something within us that has something to say, like Stephen Pressfield says, you have to put your butt in the chair and the muse will appear. So you have to sit down and write when you don't feel like writing. You have to sit down and write when you haven't got time to write. You've really got to make it a part of your life. If you're going to write a book, because it takes a long time to write a book, you have to give it the time. Now, what's been interesting to me, like I have given writing the time for many years, but this year I made a fundamental shift at the beginning of the year. I used ChatGPT to help me do a reflection for the year, and it was profound. And I decided from there that writing is going to be front and center. Not any writing, my writing is front and center of my life. One of the things that I realized is that writing is the load-bearing pillar of my life. That was an insight that I got, that writing is the thing that has helped me get through some of the darkest times in my life. And so writing, and this book that I'm working on, if I'm going to write it and I get it out into the world, I've got to spend time on it. And so writing is front and center of my life, and it's planned. It's not done as and when, it's done first rather than when I've got time, if I've got time. So I've gone from writing a bit for maybe half an hour a day in the mornings to writing an average of 10 hours a week.
Wow.
This year, I'm working on my memoir at 10 hours a week. And I've had to make fundamental changes in my life to make that happen. Like you can't just fit it in. You can't just go from 2.5 hours, not even 2.5 hours, maybe 2 hours a week to 10 hours a week without making wholesale changes and making it happen. Doesn't mean you have to do that. A Caged Mind was written in 15-minute increments, pretty much. I planned to do 15 minutes a day, but it took 4 years to get it out into the world. Coaching Presence took me 6 months to write it, but I was writing 14-hour days. So, and every book has every one of my books has had a different writing process. And people get to think, if I'm going to be a writer, I need to do, this is what it needs to look like. One of the things I really help people to see is what is the writing process that is emerging for you, as opposed to trying to work out what it is and molding yourself to it.
But showing up and put your butt in the chair helps you figure that out.
Yeah.
Because you can't figure it out from thinking. You get figured out by you showing up to it.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah.
Like me taking a week out and saying, okay, this is what I'm doing this week, and I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah.
I show up to that. And then I've gone back and gone, I don't want to lose that momentum. I don't want this to go in a drawer now and then wait till October and have another week.
Yeah.
And so I'm currently finding where's that space? And at the moment, it hasn't got enough space. It's finding itself being fitted in. And it's okay at the stage I'm at, because I've finished my book, but in actual fact, I am reading it aloud now to pick up any where I'm tripping over words, or it's the easiest. It's a great tip, by the way, to read your book aloud, because I know, like, I'm a bit sick of it by now.
Yeah, you will be.
Yeah. But I thought it was finished, but I've got marks on every single page because I'm tripping over words, or I'm finding where I've used the same word several times in a row, or things like this that I just can't see from reading it on a page, because your eyes just skip past it. So it's a brilliant editing tool. And that's before I send it to an editor. I want to get it in as good shape as possible, the best shape I can make it, before it goes to an editor. So it's making that a priority in my life. But I also thought, as I was doing that this week, and I was going, okay, this isn't working, fitting it in, I need to make it a priority. You did pop into mind, and when I wrote Ring of an Angel, because I found myself wanting to get up at 6 again, which I have for a long time. Because that sacred couple of hours in the morning, when it's uninterrupted, there are no kids, husbands, cats, whatever it is in your life, and you can just devote yourself to your craft.
I don't know where that hour and a half goes in the mornings. And I'm at the same stage. I'm doing my edit of the memoir at the minute before it goes to an editor. And it started off, the draft was just under 99,000 words, and I think I'm about 20,000, 20% of the way in, and I've shaved 5,000 off it so far.
Wow.
But it's quite wholesale. There's a lot. I'm doing a lot of editing. I'm cutting a lot.
Yeah. Amazing. There was something else that just popped into my mind, which I can't remember now.
But going on retreats is it's a lovely. That's how Liz got back into her book, wasn't it?
That's right. Yes, because she'd written half of it, or
she'd written a massive chunk of
it. Chunk, and then it was in the drawer. And when she came away on the retreat, she actually got back into it. Then it's the dedicated time and the space. And I remember from the last time when I wasn't writing on the retreats, and I was just doing a lot of walking and reflecting and having space and eating cake.
Eating cake.
And I remember you saying writing isn't just about writing. It's about nourishing yourself, your soul, and having space and seeing what comes. Like, for instance, I would love to write fiction, but I struggle to think about what I would write. But I know from working with you and going to your classes, actually, when you sit down and write, because you've given it the space, all sorts of crazy stuff comes.
It's really interesting you say that, because I didn't think I'd ever write fiction, and I do 20 minutes contemplation every day now. That was one of the other things that shifted in me, where I've gone from intermittent contemplation to doing it every single day. But what's been happening sometimes in that is a novel idea is starting to, and it's almost like I'm not going to start it right now, but I've got a scene in my head that will not go away, and I know it won't go away. It's gonna be there when it comes, until time comes to write, because I need to get this memoir done. But I think, who am I to say? But I think I might even be thinking about a novel next.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, I don't know, but a lot can happen between then and now. But
so would you obviously this will go out on a replay as well, so would you let people know about what you do, your writing classes, and how you help people?
So there's various things. I'm teaching the method writing, the duals. That I'm teaching the level 1, 2, and 3. And Jules will do all the other levels. So that's really, I absolutely loved that. Even though I said no to it for so many years, I can't believe how much I love doing that. So the method writing, they're in short bursts, like 7-week classes at different times. The next one starts in April.
And before you get on from that, my thought is, anyone who wants to find their voice, even if they just did level 1.
Oh God, yes.
It changes everything significantly.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay.
Because people don't realize to what extent they've learned to write and learn to talk. So, for example, one of the people in the class, the one that just recently finished, was a coach, and she read this sentence out, and I said, well, that's not really how you talk. She says, well, it is how I talk. It's how I talk when I'm coaching people. It is how I talk. But what it was, and what she realized, is that's the language that she's learned to use in a coaching. And I know, because it happened to me, is that when I found my voice through the writing, my absolute basic core voice, the way that I would talk to people in my coaching sessions changed completely. The way that I talk in webinars changed completely. The way that I have conversations with people changed completely because of all the things that we learned in the method writing. But finding that core voice is fundamental to all the rest, the rest of it. And my newsletter that comes out a week on Friday is about why I still attend writing classes now. And so I'm not going to spoil it. People have to sign up for the newsletter to get that. But I really enjoyed writing it. And again, it was really insightful for me writing it, because I think, oh my God, yes. That's why I started. That's why I kept going. And that's why I keep going. And this is the difference it makes to your writing.
To your life.
To your life. Yeah.
So I interrupted you because I thought that was quite important.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's great. We've also got the writing retreat in July. We still have some places available. It is such a lovely experience. It is about writing, but it's also about nourishing the soul and nourishing the writing. It's very relaxed. It's very easygoing. Everything is invitation, but lots of people accept the invitations because the invitations are so lovely, and there's lots of cake. And it's a really gorgeous few days. We're in a beautiful Christian retreat centre in the middle of nowhere. It's got open fields all around walking. There's a labyrinth at the back, which is really lovely. And we all sit down and write together sometimes, and we share some of our writing, and it's really gorgeous feedback that people get for the writing. And so that's a really lovely experience.
And we have drumming.
And we have
drumming around the fire.
Oh, drumming. Yes, Justine brings her drums.
Wow.
That's a really lovely evening, isn't it? So there's that. And then the other way is I have my writing community, which Terence, who was here just a little bit earlier, he's part of the writing community. And they are people who are working on a project at the minute. Because working on a book project, especially some of the projects that people are on, it's a long time when you're doing it on your own. And sometimes it's hard to keep the motivation going. So we meet twice a month. Once a month, we talk about what we've done, how's it going, what we're going to do for the upcoming month. And once a month, we just sit on a Zoom call and write together. And that's really lovely. And it's amazing how much people have got done, not realizing how much they've got done in that. And in those conversations, again, times people will come in and say, I've not done anything this month. So I'll say, okay, so you've not done any writing this month. And they go, no, I've not done any writing. Okay, so tell me what you've done in terms of thinking about the book. And they'll have done this and they'll have done that. They'll have thought about the outline. They'll have thought about the character. They'll have done some research about this. It's all part of the process. People don't realise all of that is part of the process, as well as sitting down and writing. So there's the Write community. You can sign up on my mailing list. And I work with people one-to-one as well. Editing, I do some editing. And the thing about the editing, so you can send 2 pages to me and I can give you a lot of feedback just based on 2 pages that you can then apply to the whole of your book. Or I can do a full report on the whole manuscript. The key thing for me is helping people to write the best book that they can that's going to resonate the most with their reader whilst keeping their own voice and their own message clear.